Hello and welcome to the Your Way podcast. Solo episode today, and we are going to get witchy. And before you tune out, because you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to witch stuff, invitation for you to just be a little bit curious today, because I really feel that it is important that we reclaim and remember what it is to be a witch over and above the stuff that we see in films or in fairy tales where the witch is this like terrible, awful, evil person going around poisoning apples with a big hook nose and a green face and a big, warts and moles on her face and all of the rest of it. Um, Now, I've talked before about how for me, this reclamation of the witch or remembering or this returning to the natural place is actually a very natural process that happens as part of a healing journey when you reconnect back to yourself and you reconnect back to nature and you sort of do the work to heal your nervous system and you heal your childhood trauma and you move through all of these layers. All of a sudden, and often quite unexpectedly, you are then met with this inner power, this inner drive that you either didn't know was there, did know was there, but had forgotten, or did know was there, but it scares you, so you kind of pushed it down and decided you weren't going to look at it. Um, and I think for me personally, I have been in all three of those places at different points. So, one of the things I've really grappled with since the start of this year, when I first started to talk about myself as a witch, was this sort of background niggle of self doubt of, well, who am I really to talk about witches or being a witch? There are people out there who have known since birth that they are witches. They've got mothers or fathers and grandparents and like lineage, like generations of witches where they've been kind of out and proud. It's been part of their education, if you like. And so then they're in this space of, well, like this is just who I am. So I'm a mystic, I'm a witch, and this stuff just flows through me. But that was not my experience because I did have the childhood trauma. I did have the suppression. I did have the layers of perfectionism, of people pleasing, of all of this stuff going on. And so for me, it wasn't like a conscious lived experience. It was very much an awakening. Like you could call it a dark night of the soul, I guess, but this awakening of, oh, like I'm a bit different. There's all of this stuff within me. I can't really make sense of it. It feels a little bit uncomfortable. Um, I'm moving through those iterations to, oh, I am powerful. Oh, I am a witch. Oh, I have all of these powers. Oh, I'm quite psychic. Oh, I'm very intuitive. Oh, I get all of these downloads and messages via my dreams, and I have these sort of strong intuitive nudges with clients, and all of these different things are going on. But it wasn't for me like this very easy to latch onto thing. So there was a little bit of imposter syndrome around, well, like, who am I? Who am I to talk about this stuff? I've been in masterminds, like deeply spiritual masterminds, where people are seeing other people's auras or like all of these things. And I would sort of question, I'm like, well, am I a fraud? Am I a fraud? Because like my gifts don't really work like that. And what I've recognized over the last few months is, first of all, we do all have gifts. We are all powerful, but we aren't all here for the same reason. So, you know, I'm a Taurus. A big, big part of my work is to anchor in safety in what I'm going to call the 3D. So, in the current space, it's anchoring in safety for people so that their systems are actually in a place where they are ready to hold their power, where they're ready to step into their missions, where they're ready to do the things that they came here to do without it completely overwhelming them and shutting them down. Because you can be as spiritual as you like, but if your nervous system is a mess, if you are carrying all of the people pleasing and the perfectionist patterns, it's going to get way, way messy when you take that into opening up like your other powers or your other gifts. And so what I recognized is that part of my gift that I bring to the collective is to help people do this work in a grounded, safe, regulated way so that it doesn't discombobulate them. Now, what that doesn't mean is that you do this work with me and there's never any wobbles and there's never any doubts and your nervous system is sturdy as fuck and there's no fears or anything else. If that is what you think you're going to get to, then there is a part of you that is denying the reality of the human experience and you're trying to spiritually bypass. This is about creating the capacity to hold yourself and be held through the wobbles, through the doubts, and through the fears. But my experience is that only once a certain amount of healing work has been done, only once a certain amount of kind of body-based nervous system regulation, however you do that, like I have my way, I have my trainings, but there's lots of different ways that you can do it, right? There isn't a one way. Once that stuff has happened, then you very naturally start to access these gifts. And then what's been super interesting is since I have been a bit more out and proud as a witch, and I've been talking more about it, what I've discovered is the witch lineage actually does run through my family. These deep, powerful gifts does run through my family, actually both on my maternal and my paternal line, right? We like the psychic gifts, the visions, the seeing of spirits. That's not something that I personally have, by the way, but people in my family and my lineage, you know, seeing spirits, having all of these experiences, even just down to the fact that my parents are both pharmacists and my mum's dad was also a pharmacist. So working in a slightly different way than like in the olden days, kind of healing with herbs and things, but still in that sort of space where you can see that they're sort of trying to make sense of what it is that's within them. And then it's coming through in that way this lifetime. And so I'm sharing all of this because what I also recognize is the people that I had the soul contracts with, the people that are destined to work with me and who are going to get the best from working with me are probably those people that have had kind of deep knowing within them of like, there's something else, there's a deep power. Maybe they have seen things like spirits or had visions or like very intense dreams since they were very little, but it's been hidden. Either they've hidden it from themselves or they've hidden it outwardly because it hasn't felt safe. And where I really get to step into harnessing my gifts is enabling them, holding them to create that safety within, right? Because until there a certain amount of healing nervous system regulation work has been done, it's going to be very, very hard to access and use that stuff in a way that keeps you healthy and vibrant. And if nothing else in my world is true, one thing that remains true is that my ultimate goal always when working with anyone is that they come first and their health comes first. It's like a package. You and your health is the number one priority. So we're not here to hustle, we're not here to push, we're not here to overgive, we're not here to burn out, or we are not here to self-sacrifice in order to do what we came here to do. And that was very, very interesting, is although this has been part of my, I don't know, core values, mission statement, call it what you want, for quite a while, about a month ago, I did a past life regression. So if you listen to the podcast regularly, I talked to Tracy about that last time, the lady that walked me through that process. And part of what came out from that process was that literally my personal lesson this lifetime, not my mission, but my personal individual lesson to learn this time round is how do I execute my mission without sacrificing myself in the process? And so that generally has been, and no doubt will continue to be, some of my biggest work. And because of that, it also means that it's something that I'm very well placed to help other people with, even though my overall mission for others is to help them to awaken to the truth of who they are and do what they came here to do, right? There's lots of different component parts that go into that. And why this is important is it's also for you thinking about, well, where are you on this continuum? And what's the kind of support that might be the most beneficial for you? Because if you think about the Wealthy Witches Mastermind, which is enrolling now, okay, that space really is only going to be suitable. It's only going to speak to people in the way that I'm intending it to speak to people if you've already done a good amount of the healing, the therapy, the nervous system regulation, so that you are somewhat in the space of, I'm ready to do this now. I feel this deep purpose. I feel this mission. I feel this pull. I feel like I know that I came here with some big work to do, and I'm ready to do that now. That doesn't mean that you aren't scared. It doesn't mean that there aren't fears that won't get in the way. It doesn't mean that your nervous system isn't going to need support, because all of those things are going to need to happen. That's why you would come into that space, because you want to be held as you step into this next layer of your visibility, your impact as a conscious leader or conscious healer, however you identify. But if you are in a space where those foundations are not complete, the Wealthy Witches space it's just not for you right now. Doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you, but the concepts and the things that I'm teaching in there are very advanced concepts. And so it's going to go over your head. It's going to leave you feeling like you're doing something wrong. It's going to leave you feeling overwhelmed. And so if you are in a place where you're like, well, I feel like there is this stuff, but actually I recognize I haven't really done the nervous system work. I'm very much focused on taking care of myself right now. Like, I'm not really interested in a bigger mission to serve the collective or serve humanity. I just need to take care of me. Then I would point you towards having a look at either my Time Alchemy membership, which is a flexible monthly membership to support you, or if you're sort of a little bit, you want the deeper support of like a small mastermind space that includes some one-on-one support, but you're very much individually focused right now. So it's more about you getting what you need just for yourself without there being like a bigger mission or a purpose. Then the Your Way Mastermind is probably the space for you. But I just feel like it's so important to note the differences, and also to note, and this bit's so important, none of these places are better or worse or make you more or less worthy. And not everybody is meant to be here with this bigger mission or purpose. Okay. So many of you listening to this, the Wealthy Witches Mastermind is never going to be a space that calls you, because it's just not what you're here for. And that is totally fine. If you are just more interested in learning to work with your internal seasons, with your dreams, with your visions, putting yourself first, making yourself a priority in your life, keeping yourself healthy, vibrant, and burnout free, harnessing maybe some more alternative ways of being, but being in an incredible community space, Time Alchemy membership all day long. If you are listening and paying attention, use the code 111, like the numbers 111 at checkout. You can get Time Alchemy at 50% off for as long as you stay. This is not going in the show notes, so it's just for those who are paying attention. So that would cost you £111 a month for as long as you want to be there. If you do feel more deeply called into a small mastermind space, but it's very much you just want to focus on you, totally fine, right? And you want to do more of the nervous system work. You really want to build and develop your self-trust. Then the Your Way Mastermind is probably a great space for you. Not entirely relevant right now, because that's a 12-month space that opens up in January each year. Well, it starts in January each year. So I mean, you can go and check that one out and join the wait list if you want to. But if you are feeling that pull, you are here for more. You are a conscious leader. You are here to help birth New Earth, to create powerful shifts, to do your version of some kind of love-led revolution, to really shake up systems and structures. And you want to build a business that really embodies who you are without the sacrifice, and you've done the nervous system work, you've done the healing work, you are ready, and you want to be held. You want to be held by someone who is embodied enough in their own power and their own regulation that they can hold you. Nothing that you share with me is going to scare me. Your big emotions do not scare me. The stuff that you feel shame about doesn't scare me, doesn't bother me. I'm not going to judge it. I have done the groundwork and the grunt work to build this capacity within myself so that I am ready now to be out there to hold others as they execute their mission. And so if this space is calling you, check it out in the show notes, come and apply. And what I want to end with today is I'm going to read you a page from a beautiful book that my sister's got me for my birthday. I'm going to show you it if you are on YouTube, but if you are not on YouTube, then I will just, you'll have to go and look it up. So it's from the Library of Esoterica, and it's just called Witchcraft by Jessica Hundley. Beautiful book. There it is on the screen. And I want to read a passage, which is a quote from someone called Brie Luna, and she's the founder of the Hood Witch. She's a visual storyteller. And this is a quote from 2020. And other than the fact that I'm obviously not a woman of color this lifetime, so much of what she speaks to in this quote speaks to me and my version of what it is to be a witch, to reclaim that space and to really harness everything that is within us and that is provided to us by nature, that so many out there have an incredible agenda of trying to make us to forget. And so this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying about reclaiming the witch. There isn't a single definition of witch, right? It isn't like if you tick A, B, and C boxes, then you're a witch. A witch is very much like it's a self-imposed title, right? It's not a defined term. And that is part of what makes it so, so magical. Because you get to make it your own. Like you really do get to do it your way and see what comes through you. But it really is about harnessing that power within. It also isn't an archetype just for men, just for women, sorry, it's for men as well. Right? I'm not going to talk about it now because I've literally just recorded a video talking about men and women and polarity. So even though I would be obviously not repeating myself on the podcast, I don't really feel like I want to talk about it again. But like the witch is not just the woman, just like just the women aren't the only ones that were oppressed and suppressed, and just like women aren't the only ones that are negatively impacted by the patriarchy, right? So I guess as we end this, in terms of like reclaiming the witch, how do you make it your own? And what is it that, and how is it, or what is it that you want to embody as you contemplate what it means to you to be a witch? So here's the quote from Brie Luna, founder of the Hood Witch. I've always been drawn to the magical and mysterious. I am multiracial, so that in itself is reflected in my magic, the rituals and the spell work that I practice and share. I infuse elements of my cultures, utilizing aspects of traditional folk healing from my indigenous Mexican and African American ancestors. I've learned and implemented many useful rituals from witches and healers from my own family and from those that I've met along my journey. I trust my intuition and I let it guide me. I study plants and minerals for their healing properties. I implement colour, astrology, candles, oils, and natural resins. If my magic had a name, it could be defined as natural magic. Creating magic is my life. There is no differentiation in my world between the mundane and the mystical. Both coexist together. My intention is powerful, and in my creative rituals, I am often going between worlds and dedicating myself completely to my desired outcome. At this time, there is a very powerful yet subtle shift taking place on our planet, the awakening of the divine feminine energy. Witches, especially witches of colour, are reclaiming their personal power, and that scares people. This power or energy has been inside of us for many years. It is an ancient wisdom that has been suppressed due to societal conditioning, pressures to conform into what is deemed acceptable behaviour. Many young women have been taught to ignore or discredit things like their intuition or psychic senses for fear of being ridiculed or called crazy. Eventually, we are taught to forget about our natural gifts. We lose the connection to living with the cycles of nature and, sadly, to ourselves. Magic is our birthright. Let's just find it very interesting that my voice is going like that. The witch is like no other archetype because the witch embodies autonomy over oneself, but most importantly, over one's soul. To me, it means freedom, the power to boldly and unapologetically embrace nature, heal yourself, heal your community, respect the seen and unseen realms. The freedom to be your most authentic self, to embrace all aspects of whoever you may be fiercely. The witch prevails from now until eternity because the witch knows how to survive and shapeshifts with cycle and season. The witch transcends all time and space and will prevail in the hearts and minds of anyone who wishes to shed their soul like a serpent. The witch lives because the witch has never died. So I will leave it there, let that land. Please do reach out if you have any questions on the different ways that you can work with me. It's very, very clear to me that my mission and purpose is important. I am here to help others awaken. I'm here to help you take care of yourself. I'm here to help you execute your mission. And so if you are feeling called into anything, check them out. If you are looking at something like one of the masterminds or working with me one-on-one, book a call. If you have questions about the membership, feel to reach out via social media. And I will see you next time. Take care.